the whole life cycle of your move can be managed through the app. You can say, what your destination is, the date of your move, and it kind of back calculates for you from there to say, here's your 3-week, 6-week plan. And of course, the fundamentals of moving, right? Packing, booking your packers, your movers, choosing your box sizes, but then more importantly, itemizing your personal assets as you're doing that. Tie that into waste management. Things like recycling, upcycling, donating, swapping, selling, rather than sending it to the tip.
Hi, Smart Community friends. In this episode of the Smart Community Podcast, I have a fascinating chat with Suzanne and Ashish Prabhudesai about the app that they created called RemoveAlist. So that's Remove, capital A, List. Now, this app helps people project manage their house moves while also participating in the circular economy and promoting sustainability and waste reduction. There will be a link in the description of this podcast episode if you would like to check it out. Now, we start off by talking about what a smart community means to both of them. And then Suzanne and Ashish tell us how their own house moves and also recent natural disasters in Australia inspired them to create the app, and also their tech startup, Simply Save Australia. We talk about how harnessing data at the time of moving house can save people time, money, resources, and brain power. We also discuss the status of the app development itself and some of the different use cases they've found based on feedback and collaborations. Now, we finish our conversation discussing the need to provide kids with the opportunity to move into the smart space and getting kids involved as active citizens in the future. As always, we hope you enjoy listening to this episode as much as we enjoyed making it.
Welcome to the smart community, smart regions, smart towns, and smart cities. It's where we live, work, and play. With smart communities, the future starts today. Big data, smart mobility, emerging trends galore. The Smart Community Podcast is what you're looking for.
Hello, Suzanne, and hello, Ashish. I am very excited to have you both on the podcast on this lovely Friday afternoon.
Good afternoon, Zoe.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, well, let's just jump straight in. Well, I would love for you to both tell us about your background and what you're passionate about. Suzanne, we'll start with you.
Sure. So, Zoe, my name is Suzanne Prabhudesai, and I am the director and founder of Simply Save Australia and RemoveAlist, which is the app that we've developed as part of our little startup. My background, well, let's see. I'm of, Indian heritage, migrated to Australia, 18 years ago now, and very passionate about technology, have worked in different industries all my life. But yeah, definitely someone that's passionate about using technology to make life easier. And, we've got 2 teenage boys who always keep us on our toes when it comes to the use of technology, because they're clearly smarter than us in that sphere. Yeah, that's really me.
Excellent. And Ashish, how about yourself?
Perfect. I am Ashish Prabhudesai. I am Suzanne's better half. While she is very passionate about technology and the use of technology for making everyday life simpler, I kind of contribute to her initiative. I know she's very passionate both at home and at work, and she gives 100%, but I'm the helping hand when she needs some support in her initiative. We've kind of together tried to piggyback on each other's kind of skill set, come up with a kind of a solution or a platform that will help with the vision of sustainability, circular economy, and waste reduction. Suzanne being very passionate, she's always trying to find new ways of doing things better. And I kind of tag along with her ideas and see how I can contribute.
Excellent. I love it. Now I just want to establish who's the better half here. I haven't quite worked that out.
I think that depends on perception and, a matter of opinion, really.
Yeah, if you don't have the video on, I'm the better looking one.
I mean, we're all got our places, right? No, I love that. And no, thanks so much for sharing a little bit about your background. I know I'm keen to get into your startup specifically and what's happening and activities you've been doing, because we've had some chats before, so I'm keen to get into that. But let's go broad first, because we are on the Smart Community podcast, and I'm keen to hear from both of you, what is a smart community to you? So Suzanne, maybe we'll start with you.
Yeah, look, I think for me, starting all the way back with the word smart in itself, smartphones and all of that, it's been quite the buzz. But frankly, personally, for me, I feel like smart cities, smart communities is really all about harnessing technology to the best of our ability. And definitely for us and for me personally, I feel being able to harness that, to create a sustainable future is probably the most exciting part of going down that smart artificial intelligence, use of technology path. We've seen it, I guess, with, sadly through COVID, where things like QR codes and things to check into places, which used to be quite a niche thing before, just became everyday life for everyone of all age groups. And I know definitely here in New South Wales, there's the government as well is going very digital with everything. And that's just the way of life. So I feel like it's just this world of endless opportunities. So it's very exciting for sure.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. Ashish, how about you?
For me, smart cities is formed by communities, and communities are formed by people. So for me, it's important to equip the people with the right kind of technology that allows them to interact between themselves as well as businesses and government without risking, privacy or compromising on privacy as such. So it's a collaborative effort. There cannot be a single entity that can contribute towards any initiatives, be it sustainable or otherwise, if you are not connected and integrated in a seamless way. So for smart cities, for me, it's really focusing on the people, on the everyday people who needs to benefit from any initiative. And that's what the focus has been for us. So that's how I see it. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, I think it's a really important point, and then merging both, what you both said there. I mean, moving towards a sustainable future is so key, and focusing on the people is so key. But also, I think sometimes we, not us necessarily, but thinking about the technology piece, that we really need to harness what we've got available, but then also what's happening in the future. It's a really key part, because we know that we can't keep doing it the way we've done it, right? And we've got these tools at our fingertips to how we make best use of our resources most efficiently. And both people, when I say resources, human resources, as well as tech, digital, physical. And I know, that's something that you're both passionate about, is using resources more effectively as well. So I guess leading on from that, really keen to talk about the work that you've been doing, the platform that you've been developing, and just tell us about the activities that have been happening in this space, because I know there's some great, big, bold ideas happening, but also thinking about how this initiative can serve our future generations as well. So Suzanne.
Thanks, Zoe. It's definitely a passion project for us. And the app that we've launched is called RemoveAlist, but ultimately it's a platform to help people project manage their home moves. Yeah. So it came up really because both of us, our day jobs are completely not associated with, moving or anything like that. But it's funny, but over the years, we've had friends, family. We ourselves made an move across continents many years ago. And then once arriving into the country, we moved from a rental place and we bought our own home finally, which was good. But country full of migrants, a whole lot of our friends and family, we've seen them move home multiple times in the last few years. And then COVID encouraged a lot of people to make sea changes. The one thing that was common in all of that was the stress levels associated. Well, I would say the two things common. One was the stress levels associated with moving home. And I think the second big thing was the waste that moving home generated, right? I mean, bin night, and you drive around or walk around and there's just piles of really good stuff just sitting out there on the curb, getting ruined by the rain, ending up in the tip. Sometimes some people might pick some things up, but it's just sitting there. So we kind of got thinking about that. And as Ashish said earlier, coming from a background where things weren't always easy, resources were not expendable, I guess. That kind of waste really bothers us. And then the stress levels related with moving. I don't know if you've ever moved home, Zoe, but it's known to be
multiple times.
Exactly. So you know what I mean here, that it's noted amongst the top 5 stressors in a person's lifespan, right? So we kind of thought, well, surely, when all of our friends were saying, oh, I have to move and I forgot about this, or I missed that, and then I was too late for something else. We said, surely there's something out there that helps you do this in this day and age. But turns out there actually wasn't. Like, there's things out there, websites and apps and stuff that can help you get part of the way or look at certain different elements, but nothing that actually brings it back together. So that's where I kind of thought, well, why not we try something like that and, see how we go. But more importantly, tie that into waste management. Things like, recycling, upcycling, donating, swapping, selling, rather than sending it to the tip. So what we've focused on quite a bit on this is you can the whole life cycle of your move can be managed through the app. You can say, what your destination is, the date of your move, and it kind of back calculates for you from there to say, here's your 3-week, 6-week plan. And of course, the fundamentals of moving, right? Packing, booking your packers, your movers, choosing your box sizes, but then more importantly, itemizing your personal assets as you're doing that. So quite often, I know when we moved, we made lists on paper back then saying, oh, we've got all of these things and this goes in that box and this goes in the other box. And then months later, we still had boxes sitting there and saying, okay, don't even know if we need anything from there because we haven't opened it in months, right? But through the app, you can actually tag your items as you're allocating them to a box and say, this one's for swapping, this one's for selling, this one's for donating even. So that inventory, I suppose, is already sitting there for you to use. So I think data is quite key in this entire project. And then coming back to the waste management side of it, because you're doing this in a systematic manner, you're already on the front foot of knowing that actually those 3 boxes are all for donation. So they're things that can be perfectly useful to someone else. I have no need for it, but I can donate it to a Vinnie's or whoever else. And then, of course, e-waste is another thing, right? So old mobile phones, people keep swapping to new models, laptops, batteries even, things like that. So what do people do with that? And from my experience, most people want to do the right thing, but the information is so hard to come by. You have to phone the council or you got to search for the information on a website. And especially if you're moving interstate, you don't know what their rules and regulations are. So the intention is to bring that information into the app to make it a one-stop shop, I guess, for someone that wants to do the right thing but doesn't know how, as well as wants to de-stress their home move. So I know I've spoken for a long time now. But,
no, that's great.
So look, that's really what the app is overall about. Project managing your move to reduce stress, but then also managing waste in a much more sustainable manner.
You guys just jump in.
One of the factors that also I'm discovering, because Suzanne didn't catch that during our conversation, was the recent natural events like flooding and fires. We were looking at some statistics and it was horrifying, the number of people who've lost their homes and have no idea what they've lost, and they're obviously in a kind of a panic state. And in this day and age where now shopping online is very common, there is a digital footprint of your belongings or whatever purchases that you make, which can easily be transitioned into an asset bank and start your digital transition journey. We thought this was the right time. To be honest, we've never felt so strongly that we are at the right time and place to make a difference, where we can help people transition through that, through using the move as a trigger, but it really helped them transition into an ecosystem where they are able to do the right thing. A lot of challenges around moving, because it's a project over and above your day job. Though people want to do the right thing, they don't have a platform. And our objective is to provide that platform. A lot of corporate entities are trying to drive some initiatives in terms of sustainability, but they're limited by putting 3 bins together or sorting for sorting. But beyond that, they have a limitation that they cannot expand. So we thought, how can people participate? And again, we wanted it very personalized. So no move is identical. How you move your home would be different to anybody else or us for that matter. So we wanted to give that control in people's hand. We didn't want to dictate, but we just wanted to provide them a tool, a platform where they can facilitate this transaction, if you like, between different parties. So that's our humble kind of beginning in that space. But a lot of these natural disasters also played a key role in our decision making in terms of how do we go about this platform right from the onset.
Thanks, Ashish. Thanks for adding it. Thanks, Suzanne. That was great. When I originally heard about the project or the platform that you're developing, what really intrigued me, I guess, is it's something that we all know is a thing that happens. We all move house. And it's a big pain point. Like, I'm actually helping someone move on the weekend, right? And I know how stressful it has been for her to move, right? And moving from rental to rental obviously is different from moving into your own home, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many different elements and how many people are in your family and all the states and all, it's a big thing. And so what I like about this approach is like taking that, very, kind of boring problem, right? Like it's, not super like exciting or anything like that, but adding things that can make people's lives better and easier in that process. And then, like you said, embedding that thinking then throughout, because they go, oh, okay, I need to know, even for insurance purposes, like you were just talking about, I often think like, I've got a spreadsheet of a whole bunch of, my most valued assets or whatever. But I got that. I, went through that process after I got broken into one time when I was younger, and I didn't know, I think I had a laptop. I think, obviously I knew I had a laptop, hopefully, but like all those other things that we have and that we accumulate over time. And then it's just, I really like the thinking behind it because it makes, it's using technology like now, and then you'll just continue to develop that thinking. And you were talking about embedding privacy and security. Obviously, these are the things we need to think about. But at an individual level, kind of taking that, you have your own agency of making this process easier. And then also, not just making the process easier, but you're layering in those values of sustainability and waste reduction and those type of things as well. Because you're so right, like in everyday life, when things are low stress, we'll try and do the best that we can around waste and things like that. But when you get into these high stress environments, you just need to get into your house, right? Like you just need to move your stuff. You want to do the best, but you just like, I just can't even look at this, I don't know, cardboard box anymore or whatever the case is.
And the number of times that you actually don't even know, even if you've done the packing yourself, you don't quite remember, what you have, and you probably dump a couple of boxes and then a week later you're out buying exactly the same things over again. So I think that's one of the other things just in terms of when it comes to saving people some money as well, but then also being conscious, environmentally conscious as well around. I like using clothing as a good example because everyone loves having a lot of clothes, but when you're packing and you're moving, you sometimes forget what you've got in there and then you kind of get rid of it and then you're out buying some more. So how do we kind of, I guess, prevent some of that, not only from a cost saving perspective, but also from, saving the environment? We have, I can't even remember now, but we have some quite interesting statistics when we looked into the amount of clothing that's wasted or that lands up in the dump on an annual basis in Australia. So it's, yes, like I said, the possibilities are endless. But the trigger is really, we're using moving as the trigger because everyone has to kind of make lists at that point anyway. So you might as well harness that data at that point in time and then find multiple uses for it going forward.
Yeah, you're so right. Like, if we've got this now, we know where the things are in our lives, and we can use that moving forward. Like you said, so many different ways you can do that as well. And I also like the linking aspect. So obviously you're not going to have every single platform of, we've got all these platforms like, we've got Marketplace, for example, things like that, RemoveAlist or different e-waste companies. It's actually linking those together rather than trying to make the whole ecosystem. You're actually just linking the ecosystem together. That's correct, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So one of the things that part of the moving what we focused on is providing that guided path because it's a hugely task-oriented activity. There is a lot of opportunity to make errors and miss out on things. So we've essentially build that checklist within the workflow. So not only that can you tick the items off, but we've built in smarts where when you are ready to recycle your, for example, e-waste, you can be directed to the right location. If you want to discard the mobile phones or batteries, you can be, there are tips that will help you guide through that user journey and give you information on demand, which is really, really, I think, we feel proud of that. We're not trying to solve every problem by ourselves, but we're working with partners within the government organizations, within the private sector, to help facilitate that. And that's kind of has been the key for us to build those, like you said, those little smarts within the process. It just nudges the people to, hey, whenever you're ready, this is the information that you need for, say, dumping or getting rid of e-waste. This is where you can go, which is the closest point to your location. And that's how it'll probably be more successful based on on-demand information available.
Yeah, and I think it kind of made me think about like how location and that spatial element is so important in this. Like, obviously, you don't want to be, you might have to, but, you want to go to your closest e-waste facility. And it's very location dependent on what is available to people moving and that type of thing. So I think that that's really key too, and really builds that, I guess, the ecosystem. You can have the digital ecosystem, but then it's also that physical ecosystem around close to where you're moving, either at the origin or the destination. And, the complexities around, linking all that together as well is something that I think is really important.
Exactly.
Yeah, cool. So tell us about like some of the activities and things. You've got the platform, it's doing, it's being developed, it's building, that type of thing. What are some of the activities and, I guess, I don't want to necessarily say projects, but the collaborations and all those type of things that you've been doing lately?
Sure. We've been, and obviously Ashish will add, of course, we're kind of doing stuff in parallel as well. But we did a demo recently with Minister Victor Dominello, who, as you may know, is the New South Wales Minister of Digital and Small Business. And we just reached out because I think he is someone that is quite passionate about taking things digital as well and about the use of simple technology. So yeah, we asked if we could demo, RemoveAlist, and just to get a view really, and to look at, how if someone like him would say, if that's the right thing to do at this point in time. It was really well received. We were actually we were really chuffed at the end of that meeting, because I think the words he used were, you're actually doing the right thing at the right place and at the right time. If you look at a combination of people moving, all of the natural disasters that have unfortunately we've experienced over the last couple of years and continue to with the floods and things like that. And of course, with people getting a lot more technology savvy and wanting information at their fingertips, he gave us some really, really good feedback and has now opened up a few doors for us to collaborate with, the New South Wales digital strategy, I guess. So we are making some connections with his technology team to look at how we can better collaborate. We've also spoken with some of our local council areas, just because that's easier, because we're part of the council, so we understand what services they provide. And that actually went really well too. They were quite excited because I feel, their feedback was that one of the challenges they have is communicating with the community, because of course there's newsletters and then there's their website and stuff, but the amount of phone calls that they get. One good example was around pets. When people move with pets, they don't necessarily have some place that they can just log in and have a look at the information to say, how do I register my pet? What do I need to know? What are the rules? So on and so forth. So that means a lengthy phone call, wait time, and then you get on the phone, and then generally the person on the other end of the phone at the council is also having to ask a few other people for that information, because it's not really all in the same place. So they were quite excited by the prospect of actually it would be good if, some of this can, we can again collaborate on these things. So yeah, look, local council areas is definitely a key pathway for us. Initially in New South Wales, but then of course across the different states too, to help some of the interstate moves and things like that. What else? Ashish, what else have you been up to?
So, so I'll give a status on the project itself. We both our iOS and Google Android apps are ready. We've just done a soft launch, if you like. We would like to get some customer feedback, so we're trying to reach out to as many people as possible. And something that Suzanne touched upon was the partnership or collaboration with councils. It's really important part of that problem that we want to solve, because that will really validate the initiative, and it'll also give some credibility and confidence amongst people to use it. Again, at the moment, the app is absolutely free of charge. Like I said, this is more of a vision that we want to contribute and give back to the community. So we're not charging anything on the app, but eventually we would also expand more and more features. And that's what our direction is. So we are now focusing on our website, where we can give a seamless journey for users to move both back and forth between the website as well as the app. So on a technical standpoint, that's where we are. We would love for people to download the app and reach out to us and give us the feedback, so we can hopefully improve it the way they are looking at. There are a lot of other interest from big technology companies to partner. I cannot name them at this stage, but we have worked with some of the key drivers of digital twin and cloud services within Australia, and they're definitely looking to partner with us. So there's exciting propositions in the making. And with your podcast also, we're trying to reach out to as many people who are really keen and passionate about this initiative. And listening to your podcast, we always do listen to your podcast, and there's a lot of for us, we draw some inspiration out of those conversations, to be honest. So it's been a great initiative. So, yeah.
Thank you. Well, we love to hear that people can get inspired from the podcast, because we try and get a lot of different people on the podcast, so then people can draw things out of those conversations. And yeah, people will draw amazing things out of this conversation as well. So that's why I was really keen to get you both on. We'll put the link in the show notes so people can click away and they'll have they can download it and that type of thing as well. But yeah, no, really great to hear. And it's just sent me a photo of your meeting with Minister Dominello, and so I was really excited as well. So yeah, no, that's really awesome. And I think and I know we've talked about this earlier, I think the exciting thing is obviously the app in itself and moving is, that first use case, but just the ability to use the similar process, a different way of doing things when we think about other processes in our lives. I've just been thinking, and I'm just thinking out loud here around when people have to change their name, for example, if they get married or they do something. I mean, it's a very different process, but it's one of those ones that has so many moving parts, so many different things. And there's so many other things, like you said, even getting a pet registered, registering a car, selling a car, all those type of things. We know how many touch points there are with different government agencies, and at the moment they don't talk to each other.
Correct.
So it's like linking that together. So yeah, no, that's where my head goes whenever when you're talking about the different things that the process can be used for as well. So yeah, it's really, really great.
You've kind of hit the hammer on the nail right on the onset, because this process is exactly, making the list of assets that you own and making that data actionable to then turn it into a transaction, because everywhere you're transacting with one entity or the other. The examples that you gave of car or insurance or, pets, we built those already in the platform. So if you're moving with your pet, you can create a profile. We are talking with New South Wales Strata to see what additional smarts we can build together. We are also talking with the New South Wales Spatial team to bring in the publicly available data to embed in the app, as well as Minister Dominello is also going to introduce us to his live event team, which he's already done. And we have to kind of take that conversation forward. So there is, like you said, those are your assets that require some kind of action, but those assets also carry some information that is required for every transaction that you have outside, right? So that's exactly what we're trying to do, is use that technology to provide your own data on demand for your own transaction. We don't store any data as such. We do not record for our purposes. All we do is collaborate and kind of bring all that information so that it helps you do the right thing when you are ready.
Yeah, and I think even going back to moving, like I know we're talking about specific things like pets and things, but even like utilities and changing your internet and all those type of things. And as we get more and more kind of smarts in that space, we will be able to do that a bit more effectively. But then also, and obviously the moving and then, being able to link up really easily. Again, another really pain point of, will I have power at my new house or not? If all those type of things. But then thinking about like, once we get used to like looking at our own data, we can make better decisions about it because we can know, like, because we want to do the right thing, but sometimes we're like, oh, should I do that or that? Should I recycle? Should I do this? Should I do, this, that? Or when should I put the washing machine on? Whatever the case is. And obviously that's a bit of, further down. And there was another conversation I was having around smart metering and that type of thing. But I think people get overwhelmed by the amount of information, but actually exactly what you both said, it's the right information at the right time. That's what we need.
Absolutely. And look, I think the tagline that we've got for the app, when we came up with it, it was a bit of fun. But the more we reflect on it, I think it kind of sums up vision because it says life organized for life. Because that's something that, like I said, when we came up with it, was a little bit flippant. But it's as we've developed the platform and the app, literally it's living up to its name, up to its tagline in that sense. Because far too often, you're right, we don't know what we don't know. And sometimes not knowing or not having visibility of that is what makes us, wasteful or not being able to make the right decision. So we're hoping that this will actually help with that long after you've completed your move as well, because that's all, the information's now there and you can use it for various different things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, I like that. I think, life. I mean, we still have to life at the end of the day, no matter how much technology we've got, right? I'm just looking at the time. I'm really keen to talk about the future. So what are the future trends that people aren't talking about enough from your perspective? Ashish?
Yeah, what we see is we're definitely trying to invest now for the future, but the future is our children and the younger generation. We need to provide them a transition opportunity to move into this smart space. They are naturally well averse with technology. Their adoption is very seamless. They're way 5 steps ahead, I guess, of the game. But genuinely, they also need a smart solution where they're able to correlate between virtual and physical. At the moment, we want to build, from our perspective, we want our platform to start at a young age where kids, as when they are allowed to have a phone, they start cataloging their toys and belongings. So when they want to discard or when they want to donate, they're aware of what kind of assets, if you like, from a toy standpoint, has been invested in them. Then there has to be kind of a synergy between the two. Today they play games online, but sometimes they miss out on how much their parents and have invested in them in terms of providing them the quality of life and making our kids aware for the next generation. Essentially, more and more they will recognize that what they have is a part of a privilege, but also give them an opportunity to there are a lot of kids whom I talk to sometimes are really so intelligent and so community focused and so this thing. I also want to do something for them from our standpoint. Like when Suzanne and I talk about it, we're saying that we also need something for them to transition naturally so that they become part of the smart cities and the smart communities of the future.
Yeah, I think that's really key, what you said there around like getting kids and young people involved as active citizens. And the way we do that is they actually feel like they have a voice and that they're empowered. And so I think it's really key because then that creates the active participation later on because they're used to doing it. Whereas if you don't get used to doing it as an adult, then you've got to work that out too. And we know adults got a lot to think about already, right? So yeah, I think that's really great. Suzanne, how about yourself?
Look, we're quite aligned in our vision for this and definitely for the future. I think taking it further, it's with the next generation as well. I think the concepts of sustainability and reducing waste, reusing resource, etc., etc. I don't think that's something that necessarily comes natural to younger people today. And while there's more and more information about that available, sometimes it's not easy for them to actively participate. So hopefully through this, because as we know, young people start moving out of home and things from the age of 16 and 17 these days as well. So it's about kind of getting them exposed to some of this as well and getting them to participate in just family life too, because one of the reasons why this app is so friendly is so that it's not just up to the adults in the household to inventorize their belongings. Anyone can do it and anyone can kind of participate in that, but then also know that actually that laptop should be, instead of throwing it away, we can donate it, or we need to even dispose of it responsibly and things like that. So look, I think both Ashish and me are quite aligned, which is why I call this more of a passion project. It's looking to solve more of a human problem rather than it being a business or something like that. That's not what the intention is. And I think that's where we're heading.
Excellent. Well, Ashish and Suzanne, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. I've really enjoyed this conversation. And I wish you all the best. I'm really keen to just follow along in your progress as you build and grow and really make an impact in this space. So thanks again for joining me.
Thank you so much for having us, Zoe. And I hope that, I don't know if you're planning on moving again anytime soon, but please, if you are, please do download the app. It is RemoveAlist with an E in the middle, which sets it apart from other RemoveAlists out there. And thank you so much again for having us.
Perfect. Yeah. Zoe, thank you very much from my side also. I cannot highlight the initiative that you're doing through this podcast in spreading the awareness. So I think we are privileged to be doing what we are doing, and I'm really glad to be talking to you and for you to kind of giving us this platform. Yeah, and I hope both of us, the three of us, kind of the initiative or the goal that we have some success in that direction. So thank you very much again.
No, you're totally welcome. Really enjoyed this. So I have one last question. It's an easy one. How can people connect with you?
Right. So at the moment, we have our app, which is ready to be downloaded, but we are working on our website. But we do have our Simply Save website up and running where they can reach us. So the website is called simplysaveau.com. And people can reach out through the contact form on that website. Or we are also on LinkedIn. So if somebody wants to connect with us, we're happy to do that.
Yeah. And then for those that do download the app as well, more very, very welcoming of feedback on the app too.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, we'll put all the links in the show notes so people can click away and find you. Thank you again for joining me on the podcast. And I hope you both have a wonderful weekend. And I look forward to our next conversation.
Thanks, Zoe.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Talk soon. Bye.
Bye.
The Smart Community podcast is brought to you by My Smart Community. If you're trying to deal with disruption, not sure what technologies to buy, need to facilitate genuine collaboration, then we can help. Email hello@mysmart.community or head to www.mysmart.community/consulting.
Thanks so much for listening to the Smart Community Podcast. Show notes for this episode and all other episodes are available on our website, mysmart.community/podcast. If you have any questions for us or any of our guests, you can email hello@mysmart.community. You can also find us on the socials. We are on LinkedIn and Twitter @SmartComHQ. That's com with 2 M's. If you are enjoying the podcast, please hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And we would love for you to leave us a rating and review at wherever you listen. This really helps us reach more ears and eyes, so thank you for your support. As always, we hope you enjoyed listening to this episode as much as we enjoyed making it.
Smart Community Podcast is what you're looking for.